How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now, with Game Week 3 done and dusted, we can look ahead to the upcoming Game Week 4. I know there's been a lot of talking points, whether it be wildcards or even budget enablers and premium options delivering once again. We're going to be talking about these talking points. I asked over on Twitter for a Q&A. I thought I would spice the preview up a little bit, and this week we do a question and answer session. So over on my Twitter account at DayvyFPL, I asked you guys for suggestions on topics you want me to cover. I thought I would do this as it's a lot better than me kind of talking about points that I think will be important, but then you guys giving me what's actually important. So if you're not following me at DayvyFPL on Twitter, I'm a lot more active there. It's just simply a social media app. I spend a lot more time on there probably against YouTube, as it is, as I said, a social media app. So if you're not following me, go follow me on at DayvyFPL. I'll put a link down in the description. You can get team news and hopefully some talking points about the game week more over on there. But after that self-promotion, let's get straight into the preview. So the first topic we're going to cover is quite a broad one, but it was quite an important one. And a lot of questions kind of combine under this one topic, and that is defense versus attack. A simply positional review almost. We're going against defense versus attackers or midfielders slash forwards. So the thing about the defense is that they've kept not as many clean sheets as in the past, or relative if you're looking at the first couple 3 game weeks. On the screen you see that a total of 14 clean sheets have been kept in the opening 3 game weeks. That's not a bad number of clean sheets, but when you compare over the last 2 game weeks, that being game week 2 and game week 3, there's only been 5 clean sheets held, and the teams that have held those clean sheets are quite surprising. Teams like Sheffield United and even Aston Villa, and I know a lot of us don't have those defenders. A lot of us have more premium options, and the premium options simply aren't delivering as well as they have in previous seasons. A lot of you played FPL last season, and I think that's where we've kind of got the stereotypical defender mindset that defenders were one of the most consistent and stable point scorers in our teams last season. So I think when we've moved on to the 2019/2020 season and the defenders simply aren't getting the points, a lot of us are quite worried. Now, I just wanted to kind of give you a broad and open view aspect of this, is that the goals have to be coming from somewhere. This whole topic is kind of, if the defenses aren't getting the points, that means that there's been goals scored against them, and that means attackers are scoring those goals. So we kind of have to jump on or transition our mindset from not that it's losing kind of points to defenders, but it's gaining points in attackers. I know that that's probably not going to be the most consistent kind of point, as we're not necessarily going to be having those attackers, and probably if we have a defender from that team they're playing against, we're probably not going to be playing that attacker. But it's just something to kind of keep your mindset on, and I think it's going to change the aspect we play FPL in, as we're going to be playing our attackers against our defenders almost. So say, for example, the upcoming game week with Ashley Barnes, he plays Liverpool. I know a lot of us have Liverpool defenders, but I think that if you do own Ashley Barnes, you're going to be playing him because it's simply just too good. He's in too good of form to not play, even if you are kind of jeopardizing that Liverpool clean sheet. But that's the one thing I wanted to talk about. If you are doubling up on some premium options, I know a lot of people out there have that double Liverpool defense. I think that you could maybe transfer one of them out. I think it might be a little bit too risky to hold on to that double Liverpool defense from now till the end of the season. Maybe when they pick up a lot of defensive form, we can look at it, but due to their price, they are quite premium options. So I think you can downgrade and look to upgrade in other aspects in terms of your midfield or your attack. I just think that if you don't have any fires to put out in your team, you can make that move. With a fire, I'm talking about if you need to transfer out a player that's not in form, then I would do that almost certainly before that Liverpool defender, as that Liverpool defender is simply if your team is looking sharp and up to scratch, and you just want to kind of make some moves in other regions. The last point I want to talk about is the top scoring players from each of the defensive categories, defensive, midfielder, and attacking categories. We have our midfielder at 34 points and our attackers at 35. That is Raheem Sterling and Pookie, who are doing absolutely amazingly, especially Pookie as he comes in quite cheap. And then the best defender is currently Lucas Dean or Patrick van Arnold with 18 points. So I wanted to kind of give you guys here a graphical representation that the defenders aren't aren't creating that many FPL points from the start of the season to game week 4. I know that the defenders come in a lot cheaper, but it just shows you that with these clean sheets kind of drying up, they're not picking up the points. But I do think that the defenses will become more assured as the season goes on, and I think we're going to be getting those clean sheet points again. So I know a lot of us are worried about, but I kind of think this past 2 game weeks has almost been an unlucky period, and I do think the clean sheets are going to be coming back to us and hopefully getting in our FPL team so we can get those lovely defensive points. Now, our next kind of topic is the best midfielder from 7 million or lower. So I've kind of got a nice little price division here. James Maddison comes in at 7, Mount comes in at about 6.5, McGinn comes in at about 5.5, and then Cantwell comes in at 4.5. So we have the Leicester man here with James Maddison. He looks like to be the standout midfielder in that Leicester team. I know the Leicester team has been underperforming quite a lot, but James Maddison has managed to pick up 2 assists, playing every single minute. That's the thing I like about these 4 options, is as you can see, they all nailed. They've played 90 minutes in all 3 of the opening game weeks, so they're looking pretty nailed and should be set starters from now till the end of the season, as long as they stay injury free, of course. So James Maddison, 2 assists, better than the other Leicester options. He does come in at 0.5 more than them, so maybe you could kind of look at that. But I do think with James Maddison, there are better options in the cheaper price brackets that are achieving better stats as him. One example is Mason Mount, who has scored 2 goals for Chelsea and looks to be in great form. The thing I like about Chelsea is they do have some great fixtures coming up, so we could look at Mason Mount, and I think they do have quite a nice run for the next couple 10 game weeks or so. So looks to be quite a nice option, especially at 6. He came in at 6.0 at the beginning of the season, but looks to have risen to about 6.2 as of making this video. So you could look at him as an alternative for maybe someone like Perez or Sigurdsson, or you could even downgrade him cheaper to someone like McGinn. Has managed 1 goal and 1 assist in his time at Aston Villa in the Premier League season. He looks to be on good form as well. Always manages to get some shots on target every game he plays. So one that I'm keeping my eye on. Aston Villa also have some very nice fixtures, as do Chelsea. So you could be looking at him if you need kind of a budget enabler. But the biggest budget enabler you can get is Cantwell from Norwich. I know a lot of us have Pookie in our side, so you might as well double up on that Norwich attack. And the thing about Norwich that has surprised me is they've been absolutely outstanding attacking wise. Defensively, they've struggled a little bit, but that's even better, because that means if they're going to be wanting to stay in the Premier League, they're going to be wanting to score tons of goals and hopefully outscore their opponents. So Cantwell has come in with 1 goal and 2 assists within the first 3 game weeks, and coming in at 4.5 at the start. However, he's risen to about 4.7 now. You could look at bringing him in, as that's one of the cheapest players in FPL currently, and when he's scoring the kind of goals and assists that he is, with the stats to back it up, it's kind of a no-brainer to bring him in. The only worry I have with him is it's kind of a weird price point to bring him in, as I would be bringing him in for someone like Dendonka, as my midfielder is pretty stacked at the moment. So if you don't have a playing midfielder, you could bring him in, or even downgrade someone like Perez or Sigurdsson, as you would for maybe Mason Mount or McGinn. So I hope this has kind of cleared it up. My preference would probably be Mason Mount. He looks to be in great form, and I think Chelsea are picking up a lot more attacking form from the start of the season to this point. In terms of other options, I would opt for Cantwell, as he just is so cheap, and it looks like Norwich will be scoring tons of goals this season. So the next topic we're going to be talking about, kind of another collective topic, is wildcard fires. Now, for those of you who don't know what a fire is, it's basically someone or a player in your team that you have to kind of transfer out, or a situation that you have to sort out. So I've covered 2 here that are kind of people are contemplating having used their wildcard. A ton of people use their wildcard in game week 3. As you know, I did not, but this will hopefully help those of you who did use your wildcards and maybe are deliberating on these points. The first point is Salah versus Mane, and the second point is Harry Kane. So let's get into the first point of Mane versus Salah. Obviously, Salah was the standout player this week, scoring 15 goals, 2 goals against Arsenal at home, whereas Mane blanked, was substituted about the 60-minute mark as well, so it could be a little bit disappointing for owners. But a lot of people went for Mane over Salah simply because he was $1 million cheaper, and Mane has been in great form in 2019. Better form than Salah, so I can understand why people went for him. And also, when you're saving that 1 mil, you can upgrade other departments. But if you have Mane, you just got to stick with him. This is the thing about going for Mane over Salah, is you just got to stick with your option and keep them for the entire season. I know a lot of you will probably be knee-jerking to wanting to bring Salah in again, but I would just keep Mane. he could score more goals against Burnley than Salah, and then you'll be looking at being happy with your decision. So I know that Mane has scored less goals or less assists with that 1 goal, 1 assist, but he has played less minutes, having come from that AFCON final where he did play. So we're going to be looking at Mane to be getting into a lot better of a routine, having scored in the Super Cup even, so you've got to add those kind of results onto it as well. But I would just stick with whoever you've gone for. Obviously, I have Salah as well. If you're looking to kind of wildcard, I think that you're probably safe with choosing either option. They're both going to have great seasons, and I think that it's going to be kind of a golden boot race between these two. So stick with your option and just kind of gun with them from now to the end of the season. Now with Harry Kane, a big talking point. Personally, if I had him in my squad against Newcastle, I would have captained him. So condolences to those of you who did captain him, but you can't be too disappointed. I think that Spurs overall were quite disappointing, so can't blame yourself too much. As I said, I would have probably even captained him. But with Harry Kane, I think that it's not that bad of a situation. I think it's worse of a situation if he does bang in goals and you try get him in your squad than getting rid of him, just simply because he's quite expensive. So you can easily downgrade him to one of probably the cheaper options that I'm going to be covering later in the video. But with Harry Kane, I think if you do have him in your squad, you got to give him one more game week. You got to give him the Arsenal away fixture. He always loves scoring in that North London derby. And the thing is, if you've used your wild card, you have one free transfer this week, and then we have that international break. So just bank that transfer, see how Harry Kane performs, and then go with 2 free transfers into the international break. So if you have to downgrade him, you can easily upgrade some other department in the midfield, or bring in another forward or your defenders. So that's what my 2 cents on it is. Give Harry Kane Arsenal. If he does perform, you can easily just keep him in your squad. They do have a nice run of fixtures there, starting with Crystal Palace at home. I know against Man United they did perform quite well, so that could be a little bit of a bogey fixture, but then they come up against Southampton and Brighton and Watford, who aren't defending that well recently. He has scored 2 goals. Obviously those came in the first couple 2 game weeks, so I know that he was a little bit disappointing against Newcastle. I know a lot of you are going to be rage transferring him out, but I think that my 2 cents would just be to keep him for that Arsenal fixture. Now, the last topic we're going to kind of cover here is budget forwards. Now, I've been simply amazed with the budget options in the striker position this season. We have the likes of Ashley Barnes and Teemu Pukki absolutely scoring tons of goals and performing well above their budgets. So Ashley Barnes has risen to about 6.7, whereas Pukki has risen to about 6.9 if I do recall. He's had absolutely tons of price rises from the start of the season to now. So, but you can see why. He scored 5 goals and 1 assist, and that's against the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea as well. So he looks like he's going to be having a great season and looks almost like a season keeper for me and my FPL squads. I did bring him in this game week and I was very happy with his performance against Chelsea, but the other budget option you could have gone for is Ashley Barnes. He scored a number of goals, 4 goals in total with 0 assists, but he has played basically every minute along with Teemu Pukki. And the one thing I want to talk about is, as I covered Ashley Barnes in my preseason videos, don't worry about his assists. Burnley strikers just don't assist that much. There are more strikers that get on the end of things, whereas maybe Pukki can set up 1 or 2 of his teammates. Ashley Barnes is always going to be getting on the end of those goals, and they're going to be finishing those shots. So you've got 2 clinical strikers here that you could go for, and this is one of the things where I'm kind of a little bit off-put by premium forwards, is that you've got these budget options that are simply performing better than them. So I'm looking at Ashley Barnes, having already Teemu Pukki in my team. Ashley Barnes looks like he's going to be coming into the squad, but obviously I have to kind of analyze my team for the next game week. Stay tuned for the preview. I will be covering kind of what transfers I make, if I do make any transfers, and we're going to analyze the squad for the upcoming game week. But I hope this has kind of covered your questions for this upcoming game week 4, and I've gone over the talking points that you wanted. Apologies if I did not cover your question. There were quite a lot of them, but I think I kind of grouped them quite well, so your point probably should be covered. As I said, if you're not following me on Twitter at DayvyFPL, please do, and also like the video if you did enjoy. We've been hitting crazy amount of views and crazy amount of likes recently, so let's keep up the good work. Also subscribe if you're new to the channel or have not subscribed yet, but otherwise I'm going to be signing off. This has been DayvyFPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.